Hello, everyone. We're back. Oh no, the giveaway is slightly off center. I'll have to fix that. Hello, everyone. We're back for another Fantasy Grounds Fridays, and today I am joined by Joshua Watmough from Sweatworks. But you all probably, I'm sure almost everyone here knows you already. But you want to tell them what you do?
Yeah, hi. I'm Josh, and I am the resident artist at Fantasy Grounds at Sweatworks. I make all of the art packs, and as well as do a lot of the theming stuff, and pretty much any images that need to be created.
And I think most importantly, you do all those map streams that everyone loves.
I do that as well. Yep.
The Bob Ross of fantasy maps.
Oh, you want to see something that's funny? Like, my daughter made this for me. It's my face superimposed onto Bob Ross.
That's amazing.
Fantasy Ground.
If we wouldn't get sued by Bob Ross's estate, we should have those. But that's amazing.
It's a one of a kind.
It is. Yeah, that's actually a really good cup. Because that's how you've got a very soothing voice.
Oh, well, that's good, I guess.
But yeah, so we're here to talk about, obviously, there's some big updates to the Fantasy Grounds map creation tools. So we're here to talk to everyone about that.
Yeah, it's a huge update.
It is. It is. And obviously, there's still some people that don't even know that you can create your own maps in Fantasy Grounds.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I'm oftentimes, because it's one of the big things that kind of came with Unity is this whole suite of tools that you can use now in the image workspace, and it's just getting improved upon dramatically every time that there's an update. It's just so much better.
Yeah. I still like freak out a little bit, and like in a good way, I mean. And my players do too when I use any of the image effects on the maps. Like whenever I make like a pool of water actually like move like water, everyone's like, "Oh, it looks so good!"
Right. And now with these new tools, it's so much easier even.
Yeah. So we're really excited to talk about all those. Looks like there's a lot of people very excited to see and hear from you today.
Oh, that's good. Yay.
Yeah, but first, I guess we'll just start off with maybe a more. We already did a little bit of an introduction, but maybe a more formal one. Just like, what do you do? What'd you do before? And what's your favorite type of art?
Oh, well, so I actually tattooed for a long time. That's where, yeah. So that was my primary source of income for many, many years. But I've always been very much into art and artistic kind of endeavors. So I've been working with Sweatworks now for, I think, 2 years, maybe a little more.
Okay.
Maybe just about 2 years. I don't know. Timelines are not my forte.
Not mine either.
But yeah, and then I started working in the tabletop RPG industry, and I really enjoy it. I think it's the best community out there.
I would strongly agree.
Yeah, and so as far as like my kind of go-to for like artistic kind of stuff, I'm super into like Japanese woodblock prints.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's see what else. A lot of like the standard kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right. So I guess just like what specifically like got you into like TTRPG art and map creation? Right.
So I probably like almost everybody else that works in the industry, I played it as a kid. You know, I was born in the early 70s, and so I was at a very young age kind of introduced to Dungeons and Dragons. So I'd always been kind of drawn to that particular industry. But when my youngest daughter moved to college, we decided that we were going to be playing a game together. And I started like drawing maps and stuff, and everybody that we played with thought that they were great. So I just
Oh,
started making some map packs, and there it goes.
I mean that's I'm sure that's a pretty like similar story to a lot of people. You know, you start playing as a kid. I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone that's like, no, I started playing TTRPGs like in my 30s.
Right.
I didn't touch them before that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's probably true.
yeah, I think for most people these days, they've been around like all, most of their at least most people in our industry been around most of their life.
Yeah.
So we are going to get into and actually like talk about the tools in depth here in a minute. But I just wanted to kind of do this little bit of an interview, kind of let the community know who you are.
Yeah.
So obviously you not only are the map packs for Smiteworks, and the map streams. You also do a lot of our themes, don't you?
Yes. Yep. I've done. So we were originally going to be releasing a lot more themes, but there's a lot of maintenance to them
Mm-hmm.
because we do produce so many different rule sets.
Yeah.
So we're gonna probably just do like one a quarter or something along those lines. But we have a bunch of themes that will be coming out this year. And also, I do a lot of the reevaluation of certain rule set. Like when we did all of the different sidebar changes and a lot of that,
Mm-hmm.
I help with the designing of the button shapes and all of those things. So
Yeah. I love the new sidebar. I
yeah,
really,
me too.
especially the first compaction of it where it's doubled. I really like that. It's so clean looking.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So when you're going to create, we'll say a new like map or art pack, what do you like? What is your mindset when doing that? How do you start that?
Well, that's a good question. What I tend to do is I look at because I like to make maps too.
Mm-hmm.
And then while I'm doing something, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if I could do this as well? And that will oftentimes send me into down that rabbit hole of okay, so how can I use these tools to maximize the creation process? And what would be a cool thing that I would like to create? And that's usually how I go about doing it. And then I'll find, so that helps me find all the different gaps that we might have currently, right?
Yeah.
So I've been in the process of making, especially for the new tool sets,
Mm-hmm.
a really cool art package that will be for creating like exterior castle kind of creations, right?
Yeah.
There's lots of different roof shapes and walls and things along those lines, and trying to work that out in the most simplistic yet functional
Yeah.
and dynamically looking that it can possibly be. So we have ease of use and yet hopefully, a really good outcome in the visual appearance as well.
Awesome. I really need to like sit down and actually learn the Fantasy Grounds map tools. I tell myself that all
Yeah,
the time, and then I never have the time to do it.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
I was like,
it's gotten very, very intuitive,
mm-hmm.
and there's like a very small learning curve now. And once you see like a very basic kind of understanding of how the tool works, you can really start to like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
Well, hopefully today maybe you can help me out by
Yeah.
showing me. We're gonna jump over to that. Hey Drake Takes, how are you? But first couple of things I want to mention: we are running a giveaway for the Medieval Machines map pack. If you want to enter, you can type !art pack in Twitch chat. You do need to be watching on Twitch for that to work. But yeah, it's !art pack, all one word. And the other thing is, because I know you did the Fallout 2D20 theme.
Yes, all the
And
rule set images.
yeah, the rule set theme. And I just want to say that is my favorite theme.
Oh,
I
cool.
loved all of the design elements that were like very clearly inspired by or taken from the Fallout 76 Pip-Boy. I noticed them immediately on the little thing at the top of the sidebar. I was like, I know what that's from, and I love it. Because I have one of those. I have one of those Fallout 76 Pip-Boys over there somewhere.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's when you have something like that. I think that it's really cool because you have so much to draw from, right? And it's iconic.
Yeah.
And so you want it to instantly kind of be recognizable as certain aspects of that.
Yeah. Is this a separate purchase? No, the mapping tools are built in. What is separate purchases are either the art subscription or the individual packs. But the tools are just built in.
And you can do so much with just the painting tools as well. You don't need to use the images. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, there's still a lot you can do.
Especially if you're a fan of those old school black and white maps that like the ones that WotC did for a few of their modules. I know Descent into Avernus specifically is the one that I always remember that had like that very traditional hand drawn look. I'm sure you could create those in the tools without any art packs.
You certainly can. Yeah, especially now with what we have created here.
And by the way, to those 2 follows that just came in, thank you very much. It's always appreciated. Anyway, I'm gonna click a button over here, and we're going to get into actually showing off some of these new tools.
Great.
So our cameras are gonna disappear, but you're gonna see a nice big Fantasy Ground screen. And then we'll talk about some of these mapping tools. I'm gonna need to move the. Oh no, I don't. Oh, that's why I was gonna say I'm gonna need to move the giveaway screen, but I don't because it's being hidden by the computer screen. Anyway,
good.
Yeah. So you want to, I don't know, give us an introduction to the mapping tools. How do you get started?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways. Let me just start from the very beginning here. We're going to go into our image records here. And this is the primary window so there's a separation between the image record and the assets. And think of the assets as being like the puzzle pieces and the image record as being the final production, right? And so when we have both of these windows open, you can certainly see that there is a huge distinction between the two. Here we have these nice folders. Sometimes it's going to be like, depending on the theme that you have. I'm in the modern dark one right now. But all you have to do is there's a couple of different ways. So let's say we go into, we don't want to go in there. We want to go into this one. We'll go into the FGU Art Pack 2019. And let's say you want to start off with like one of these background images. You can either click on it and just create an image record just from there. You can drag and drop this into this window and it will instantly create an image record for you. Or you can right click in here and you can create a new item. And that all of those things are going to function exactly the same way in creating whatever you wish. And then you can name this whatever you want. We can name it stream. I'm not that good at typing, so lots of typos. But we can kind of just run through, once we get into this workspace, all of the different tools that are now function are based off of these tabs right up here. So this is our normal play area. This is our layers tab, and this is where we're going to go through all the different functionality of each individual layer and interact with them as a whole, right? Think of that as like, if anyone's familiar with GIMP or Photoshop, many different images can be on one particular layer, and this is the same inside of Fantasy Grounds. Our painting tools are where most of these functionality, the new update is all taking place. There are some changes in some of the other tabs as well, but primarily it is in the painting tab. And then we have an effects. We can create effects layers, and this can create rippling water, smoke, all kinds of different cool animated effects that will help your maps become a lot more immersive. We have our line of sight, lighting. This is for Fog of War masking. And then finally our grid system. And our grid system is very robust as well. So once we set this up here, we can I'm going to turn on the grid so everyone can just kind of see here. And I'm just going to lower down its opacity. We have total control over the grid system. You can even make it ununiform. So it doesn't have to be specifically like square units. You could have it whatever you wish. But I'm just going to lower this down. And then we can switch back over into our layers tab. And from here, selecting this layer, you can see now I can move this around and line this up with my grid perfectly. I can even change its size. I can grab these little widgets and we can move it around or rotate it. So all of this is very, very interactive. And I'm just going to hit Control Z to put that back to where it was. And going into our painting tools, this is where the big update has really come in. And we can close this window down. And let's just move this over here. So what we can do now is we have two separate elements in here. We used to just have one way of interacting with the system through loading up an image or using a thing, and then we had some different tools. Now, each one of these now has some very different kind of parameters that we can kind of interact with here. We have a stroke, which is going to be around the outside of our image, and then we have a fill, which is going to be on the inside. So just to kind of demonstrate this and show the way that this can kind of be used in many different applications here, we can use this. Obviously, it comes right off the top of your head, right? Like we can make buildings and structures and whatnot. So if we were go into, let's go into the dungeon one. That's probably a good one to kind of show off that kind of functionality here. So we're going to go into brushes, and I'll grab one of these like stone brushes here. And then we can use like a floor as well. So I'm going to go into one of the floors and we'll grab maybe this one and we'll switch over to our fill and we'll do something just like this. And then what this is going to do is it's going to create an image that is going to use the seamless texture and fill in a large area. And it's going to put around the outside this particular wall in general. And we can hold down Control, and that's going to snap us to our grid system. So we can make sure that it snaps right to it. So we can do something just like this. Now what we can do is we have a whole bunch of different overlap features here. So we have an add feature here. And what I can do is I can do exactly the same thing. And this is going to add to that shape.
Oh, that's really cool.
Right. So we could actually start to do here is build out a dungeon. So let's actually hide this background here. And we could start to add in all of our different little areas here, and we can start to create some rooms. Maybe we want to switch over to the ellipse tool and we want to put in some rounder areas. But we can also take away from this, right? So what if we want to make this hollow in the middle here? We can go to our subtract, and we could subtract out a nice little circle in the center there.
I didn't even know that was I knew about the kind of the drawing of rooms. I didn't know that you could like cut a hole out of the middle.
Yeah, you can cut a hole. Like if we decided that we wanted to cut a hole out from here, and then we can have complete control over this, right? So we can start to add in different elements here. That's gonna. Sometimes there's a little bit of a bug, so you just have to add another little element there, and it'll bring it all together. And then we can just continue to build this out into any shape or situation that we wish to. The great thing about using these tools. And one of the advantages that using the painting system inside of Fantasy Grounds is it will generate all of the line of sight for you.
Oh.
So we can switch over to our line of sight tool here, or our tab, and we have this little button that says duplicate paint layers as walls. And all we have to do is just click on that, and it will generate all of that information for us.
Wow.
And so, right, this is like this huge, like you can spend the time creating these environments and not have to really worry about all of the extra labor that you're going to have to go through and do it all over again.
Yeah, I got to say, like one of the most annoying things about, say, creating a map somewhere else or importing a map that someone else created is knowing that, all right, now I have to go through and create all the line of sight, which is basically just like creating the map a second time, like you mentioned.
Exactly. So that is completely out. So what we can do, and here's some of the other really cool features that we have now, is we have, not only do we have an edit fill texture adjustments, so I can come in here and I can move around this fill and I'm creating a whole bunch of different types of fill elements where this is going to become very useful, right?
Yeah.
And then we can rotate this if we wish.
Oh.
And we can use Control to change the size of this. So this is all done. It's all listed here. So Control on the mouse wheel. to change the size of it. And we can hold down R
Mm-hmm.
and interact with the R channel to change the colors of this, B and G. And we can even change the opacity and a fade as well. So we've added in this fade so we can fade images out. And I'm going to demonstrate how that's going to become super useful as well.
We did just get a question. Will it set up doors too?
It does not currently set up doors. No, it just does all of the actual walls themselves.
Yeah. So I suppose if you do want to do a door, it's not too hard to just draw a little square door over your door art.
It's super easy. It's super easy, and but that might be some sort of functionality that comes in the future. But currently, this is the setup that we have going. It's all of that base line of sight, and then you can go in and kind of tweak everything. So now we have this whole editing functionality inside of this new tab that's over here. It's called Edit Fill, and then we also have an Edit tab itself. Now this is where things can get really fun, because what we can actually do is look at how this image is implemented inside of the system itself. These are the occluder points that will be created into the line of sight, but this will also change with this creation itself. So we can just grab these with like a mouse, and we can move these and change the shape in any way that we want to.
Oh.
And so if you decided like, oh, this corridor isn't quite wide enough, I'm just going to grab these and I can hold down Control and snap it to the grid and move it over. Or maybe I don't want this particular setup right here. We can kind of change this. All of this is so interactable now and adjusting. So what you can actually do is kind of come into the creation process more relaxed, right? Like you can just kind of start to throw your ideas around and come in and begin to tweak it after the fact, which is just amazing. So we can change all of these parameters and do all of this stuff. So super great stuff that is kind of being created here. And what we can even do is come in and let's say we decided that we don't want these points here, we can just remove them. And we can change the whole system. It's just like working with the old occluders, but now it's interacting with the image system.
Wow.
So it's very, very powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So we can, things are really, really becoming like a massive here. As far as like the functionality goes, the ease, and you can see how quickly you can start to throw these maps together.
Yeah, that is a good point. It looks like we can't see your mouse pointer.
Oh, I bet you I know why. Let me change the screen share from Fantasy Grounds to the.
Oh yes. Yes, that is a thing. While you're doing that, I want to give a little shout out and hello to Troll Lord Games for popping in here.
Now you guys should be able to see my mouse. I hope.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, so what we can now do, and here's some other really great features that have just drastically changed how we're going to interact with the system.
Yeah,
is that we now have.
Hold on just 1 minute, because we did get a question that I want to answer. Bobby Joe Fuller, what is this called? This is part of Fantasy Grounds Unity. So Fantasy Grounds is a virtual tabletop that is getting more powerful by the day. We are kind of showing off the map building tools that are built into Fantasy Grounds. And I just get asked if you could scale. Yeah,
I'm on it.
Cool. You have Fantasy Grounds Unity, you just haven't seen this. Yeah, so these tools are relatively new. And we're showing off like the newest functionality of it.
Yeah, this just came out in the most recent update.
Yeah, so this is all brand new stuff, and it's huge if you like if you want to create your own maps for your games.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there is just so much that we can now do with this. And so let me just give you a couple of really quick examples while we're kind of messing around here. What I can do is I can go back into my stroke. I can turn this off, and let's grab this guy. And so what we can actually do is begin to fill without an actual line outside of it as well. I'll create a new painting layer here, just kind of show how this is going to work. So let's say, because this is a fire pit, and maybe I don't want all of this stuff around it and whatnot, so I can come in here and I can just maybe drag out a small section of this, right? And we can just move this over. And now what I can do is I can fade out these edges and move this in. And so I can just extract a small amount of an image now by using something that wasn't necessarily intended to be the way it was before. But so you could grab another map, for example, and if you just wanted to use like a room from it, like if it was a particular room that you liked, you can now use that as a fill, move that texture over, and just use that room and create a whole new environment around it.
Wow.
Yeah, very, 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 very cool stuff here. Again, we can go into our decorations, and we have our new stamp setup is all here. So let's grab something that we can kind of, let's grab this torture chair.
Ooh, my favorite.
You're right. And so we'll just stamp this just like we would before. But what we can do now is we have this new tool over here, which is amazing. I love this tool. It is the sample setting. And what this does is, let's say I go back here and I want to come back down into here, and I want to add something to this, but I don't want to go through the process of setting everything up all over again. I can just grab this little picker, and what it will do is it'll grab that information from the XML file.
Oh.
And now I could, all over again, I can begin to interact with this system and add more elements to it.
Whoa.
And then I can come back. Right. So we can just jump back and forth now between all of these different layers and images, and I can do the same thing with my stamp tool. Maybe I want to. This is still loaded, but let's change this. Let's put in a couple of these sarcophagi up here like this, and then I was like, oh well, maybe I want to grab that, so I can just come over here and click on this. I should be able to.
It doesn't like the chair.
It doesn't like it. But this usually functions, but of course it's not going to now.
Of course, it always waits until it's on stream. It knows.
And we can come back into this system as well and move these around. We can change any of these positions that we want to, which this was unable to be done before. So you can kind of, as I said before, you can kind of let go of all of those that planning, like trying to put everything perfectly as you would like to put it, and then just come in and make lots of adjustments after the fact.
Yeah,
which is just great.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you could sketch out a dungeon general layout in just a couple of minutes.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean like a small 3-room dungeon. I mean like you could do a full large scale couple of sessions long dungeon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a pretty good sized area here. I think that this right here is 25 by 25, so we've already created something that's like 50 squares wide.
Yeah.
Or more. Which is great. But here's the other great thing about this system is all of the maps that we have created up until this point, it's all of it is still functional inside of the new system as well. We can go back and make changes after the fact.
Oh.
So let's say, for example, we'll take this map that we made on stream a while ago. I'm just going to close down this assets.
Yeah, those were some dragon-sized hallways.
Yeah, they were large.
Well, I mean, maybe it is a dungeon that a dragon lives in. It would make sense.
So here we have a map that's pretty complex that we made a while ago on the stream. We used all of the different tools. But let's say now what we can do in this new system. And one of the great things, if people aren't aware of it, if you go into your image records, you can make copies of any of these very, very easily. All you have to do is grab this and drag it back into the image window, and it will actually create a brand new copy of this. You can see it's right here. This is Jungle. This is the one we have open, and then we just created a copy of that. So you can use the same base, and now go back in and make all kinds of different adjustments to it. So what we can do is go into our painting tools and go into these elements.
Wow.
And because these are all in folders, it's going to use all of the different folders so that we can actually come in here and do it from a folder level. And we could come in and grab these bushes and move them around. And here we have our, let's just break this down a little bit. I think that, yeah. So if we go into here, what you can see here is we have the actual cliff here. And as you can see, I can come in and make adjustments to it. So I could change this, delete this, move this around. Let's say I wanted to do an outcropping that comes out like this. I could now come in and readjust all of these things after the fact.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's just amazing the way that this kind of system interacts with it.
Yeah, especially like you're showing right now, the fact that you can retroactively go back to maps that you've already made.
Yes. Yep. And update them. And all of those things that you might want to have changed or moved, now you can do that. So we can come in here and be like, oh, well, I want to move this particular tree. I'm just going to grab it and move it to wherever I wish. Great stuff. As far as like some of the new implementations that we have going on here, again, I'll close that down and we'll
show us some new stuff.
Yeah, so what we can do now as well is we can use our fills to create masks for our like water effects and things along those lines. So if we go back into the 2019 art pack,
hold on, I am actually stunned at what you just said. You're gonna have to show me that.
Absolutely. So let's go into. I'm going to turn off this stroke. We're going to go into our fill. I'm going to grab one of these like water tiles. We'll just do like a circle here. Let's put our fade to something like 2. We can set the fade right here. And I'm just going to drag out this kind of like faded circle here, right?
Okay.
And this will be like our water kind of element here. Maybe what I'll do is we can create a new painting layer and put it underneath. Let's do some ground underneath it here. And jump back in here, and before, I don't have to do anything else. I can just kind of grab this, and it's going to set my fade and all of the parameters that I've just set up to this. And well, I don't want to do square. Let's do round. We'll add a little bit of some different shapes to this. I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to adjust that little crimp just to kind of flatten that out. So now we have this nice shape of water here. I can go into my effects layer, and I can now create using painting as a mask. So I can create this mask of this particular area. We can go into our water, for example, and it's just going to be just on the water there.
Wow.
And kind of blur out those edges. And so what we can actually do, right, it's starting to get to a point where, I'll take this fade off here, and we can put a fade even on our stroke as well. All of these parameters are independent. So let's hide that for a moment, and I'm going to use the same fill as I was using before, but I'm going to go into one of these brushes, and I'm going to grab one of these coastline kind of brushes here. We can do exactly the same thing. That's going the wrong way, so I'm just going to flip it for.
That was really cool looking, but
right. I'll show you what we can kind of do with it as well. We can make it like a little island or whatnot in the middle and have it going in the opposite direction, which is why you want to be able to switch it back and forth. But here we can create exactly the same way. And again, I'm just going to kind of move this out so it's not so.
Yeah, correct those kind of wonky edges.
Right. Yeah. And we can even simplify this shape and do lots of different stuff with it. So we can come back into our effects layer. We can create a new effects layer. And again, we can add in our water elements. You can see it goes with the fill and not with the outside edge. Mm-hmm. So we can quickly and easily create all of these different changes, and we don't have to. Let's exaggerate this a little bit so everyone can kind of see it.
Yeah, it makes it real obvious for stream.
Yeah, but now you can do all of these effects without having to again all that extra work of creating these areas, going back and changing them and doing all of that stuff. It's just great. It's so great. And so again, let's go back into our painting area here. I'm going to switch this back to the other direction. I think the other direction. Yeah. And then I'm going to change
Could
the
you place
fill
an
out here.
object under the water right now? Is what someone asked.
Certainly you could. Here, I can demonstrate that in just a moment. Let's go
And the
into our tiles.
question.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to answer a question from Hotline who asked, "Can you make changes to already existing adventure module maps?" You can't make changes in this same way, but you could add to them. You could essentially paint over the top of them if you wanted to change them.
Absolutely. So here we can do exactly the same thing, but all I've done is change the fill to a ground.
And now you've made
Switched
an island.
now I've made a nice little island right in the middle. And so let's say we want to put something underneath the water. Well, there's a bunch of different ways that we can kind of interact with the system to do that. Let's go into the underwater art pack.
Drake Take says you just took away his entire Saturday because now he's going to spend it playing with maps. Which is good because I believe, Josh, I believe you have a stream tomorrow, don't you?
I do indeed. Let's grab some of these.
3 p.m. Eastern time, so it's going to be, it would be, if today was Saturday, it'd be starting in like 30 minutes. So
right. We'll grab some of these elements and we'll kind of put these underneath the water here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of different ways that we can do that now. The first thing that we can do is we can come in here and go onto our water layer here.
Yeah.
And I can hold down the A button and I can use my mouse wheel to lessen the opacity of the water, as you can see here.
Okay.
So we can actually do, and we can do this on the layer as well. So I can come to the layer and open up the color picker and I can just lower down the opacity of this.
Yep.
And then I can go onto a layer underneath it. Let's just create a new one actually. We'll drop it down right down here. And we'll just start to stamp in some stuff here underneath the water.
Now you got some coral down there.
So I've actually shown on stream several times different ways that you can kind of interact with the system and do it. But yeah, there's a huge amount of interaction that you can actually do now. We should probably lower down this as well.
I do want to remind everyone we have that giveaway going. It's saying text-wise, it's saying for the wrong thing, but it is for a Medieval Machines art pack, which obviously, if you don't have any art packs, is a good way to get started checking out these tools.
Let's move this over, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of things that I've been working on, and just to kind of show you the possibilities with this new system here. And let's actually get rid of the fade on this. So I'm just going to come in here and bring that right to a crisp edge. But let's see. I think it's in. Yeah. So here, for example, is something that I've been working on. So doing like hedges and whatnot used to be kind of a pain, but now what we can actually do is create in this system much the same way. We should probably make that a little bit smaller, but that's okay. And we can add to this. So you could make lots of cool like hedges and whatnot. If you wanted to make like a maze, like a hedge maze and whatnot. So the use of like one of these strokes with a fill element that all works together. I'm working on like trees and whatnot, so you can make any shaped tree you wish. Paint out any. Cool. Right. So you have like this edge that interacts with the system, and I actually accidentally changed the size of the brush there, but.
Curviac says, looks like GIMP integrated into Fantasy Grounds. And I think that was GIMP and Facebook, or not Facebook, Photoshop. I think those were kind of the inspiration for how these tools are kind of done, because that is what it kind of reminds me of. Because they're very Photoshop, but specifically for maps.
Yeah, specifically for maps. Yeah, all the tools, and that's so I used to make a lot of maps inside of Photoshop. But now when I have to do that, I found it way more laborsome than doing it inside of Fantasy
Yeah, I was
Grounds.
just going to mention, I don't know if you've tried making maps in Photoshop, but it is much more intensive than this.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It really is. Let's see. Oh, we have all kinds of different types of corner elements now. So let's go back and we'll grab some nice walls. And the search feature inside of Fantasy Grounds is great. So you can just do like keywords and type in anything that you wish. Let's grab something that's going to show the edges pretty well here, hopefully. Yeah, let's do it like this. So I'm just going to turn off my fill and switch back over, and I'll grab a rather kind of plain looking wall here. Well, let's do something that's got a little bit more interest to it, though. So what we have now is we start off with just a very basic kind of beveled edge, and this will show a lot more inside of the rectangle tool. And I'll just hide this stuff.
Quickly speaking about the search feature, this is a support ticket that we get quite frequently because you used to have to obviously go into the modules and load art packs. That is no longer a thing. So now if you're thinking, oh, I can't find my art packs, the easiest way is open up that assets window and search for the whole pack's name, and it will pop up.
Absolutely.
You no longer have to activate them. Art packs that are on your account just go right into the assets folder. Or assets.
And so we have, right, yeah, absolutely. And so we have these different corner types now as well. So we can do rounded corners. And we also have a mitered edge, which is the classic kind of very sharp corner. So you can now change the way that your walls are going to be. It should be noted, however, that when adding to an image, it has to be the same corner type. This will not add to this.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, but you can always just grab and select that, and this will always grab all of the different elements that you might need. So that's not going to.
It doesn't like it
because it doesn't like it at the moment. But you can the corner types always have to match in order for the add and subtract features to work properly. Well, not necessarily subtract. Subtract.
Yeah.
Is
so, what kind of assets would work for this new system? Only official ones, and I believe the answer would be
no. You can upload or import any images whatsoever. The way that the brushes need to work, all it has to be for the fill and the brush itself to work is they have to be seamless. For the fill, a seamless texture, and the stroke brush just has to be seamless from a vertical position, and it has to be oriented vertically, not horizontally. So if I were to change it this way, you can see it's going to get all kinds of craziness.
Whoa! You can make some crazy art with that, though.
Absolutely, you can. But all of this functionality now makes like creating, as I said before, like doing like castle walls and whatnot, so much easier. You probably wouldn't want to do rounded. Well, maybe rounded will work. Let's try beveled. Yeah, that's probably a little bit more like it.
Yeah,
and you can just add
like a rounded tower on the sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might get some of these, a little bit of like these wonkiness in through here, but you can just come in and make any adjustments that you want to kind of fix that. As you can see here.
Yeah, sometimes the tools get confused.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very complex system. So the ability to come in here and make those changes is really what I find is like the most powerful kind of feature inside of Fantasy Grounds. In addition to this, we can also create.
But wait,
there's so much more. We also have the line tool, and this is for to create any shape you wish, right from the get-go. And we can also add in our own drop shadow to this. Maybe we do like a drop shadow too.
I was actually just going to ask about doing a drop shadow onto walls.
Yes, we can certainly do that. So what this will do is, well, let's see here. Normally this will, oh, it's not large enough. That's why it's underneath, I believe. Let's see. Well,
I think
maybe
I think it might be best if you just picked a different element.
it could be. It could be.
I think your element's pretty wide.
Yeah, there it is. So it has to be large enough to go outside of the actual creation itself. So you can create, and you can see here that's going to be the same size. So this shadow, and all of these parameters have to be the same in order to make them additional elements. So lots of cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We also now can, if there's no fill elements enabled, we have the ability to do like end caps. And if I were to show, let me go back to that one brush that will, this will help demonstrate this a little bit better. We can now do like a rounded element here. Oh, I got to do it on a painting layer that's not hidden. And what this will actually do is it should.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe in a minute here. Hold on. Let's see here. Yeah, it's not going to work as intended at the moment.
It happens.
It does. But yes, you can now do like different end caps for single lines. So if you're just creating all kinds of different elements. As far as anything else goes, there's new shortcut keys for doing certain activities as well. So you can hit Control and it will snap to the grid. A lot of it is controlled by the grid system. So holding down Control will do that. If you hold down Shift, it'll maintain a square, or if you're in a circle, it'll maintain a perfect circle.
Okay. We did get a question. I don't know if you'll know the answer, but it's at least a good idea. But will there be an option, if not already available, to disable certain art packs that say you don't want to show up to simplify the asset window?
There isn't a current way, no. But that could be something that could be done in the future.
It's not a bad idea, because I know whenever I open the images folder, I have a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, for sure. That kind of stuff could be something that could be added, I'm sure. But that's a question for John, I think.
Yes, it is.
Let's try this. Let me just delete some of these things here.
By the way, anyone watching, we've already have been getting some questions, but yeah, feel free to just drop a question in chat, or if you're watching on Twitch, you can use the little Fantasy Grounds dice icon at the bottom of the screen to, just drop in a question, and those will go into a queue, so it's really, really easy for me to keep track of. Whereas in chat, stuff can get lost if you're not really fast.
And also, it should be noted that the eraser tool is completely integrated into the system as well.
Ooh, okay.
So you can still use the eraser tool just like you would before, except now it's kind of acting like a subtraction.
Okay.
You can do lots of things. But here's a good demonstration of the way that the end caps now work. You can have a nice square one, or you can have a rounded end. It'll actually take the image that you're using, if you want to use it in this way.
Yeah.
And it will add a little bit, as you can see here. What it actually does is rounds out that edge for you.
That's cool.
I just had close and open the program, and not the program, but the image, to get this to work, the functionality to come back. But yes. And again, we can actually come in here and instead of using certain elements, we can just select all of these and hit delete and get rid of those.
So I know we mentioned it at the top of the stream. You think it would be possible to show how you could create something if you say didn't have any art packs?
Oh yeah, sure. Let's
just for those people that are unsure about subscribing yet, but really want to try out the tools.
Sure. Yeah, we can actually use. So there's a whole. It's just color fields that it uses, and we can use whatever colors we wish. You just click this little tint icon down here, and we can change these colors, or you can just drag around in here to get whatever color you wish. Let's make this like light blue, and then our fill can be white. And then we can go in and set up. I'm going to change the grid size here. We can zoom in a little bit, and I'll just lower down that opacity.
Yeah, I always find the grid lines are a little bit too harsh at 100%.
Yeah. I think it's good for certain maps where there's a lot going on. It's good to have the option to make it that much, but I agree. I oftentimes will make it.
But I'm also a fan of. I usually turn off the grid line, the visibility of the grid lines.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're not going to do like white either. Let's make this a little bit off white, so it's not quite so harsh.
Yeah.
Great. So all we have to do now with these tools selected, I'm going to hold down Control so I can snap to the grid system, and I can start to drag out. Here's my first room here. Let's say I want this to be right on the grid here. I can just hold down Control, come back, and now I can start to make sure that I have Add selected. And now maybe we'll do like a hallway here. You can pick any colors you wish.
Yeah.
Again, if I want to change this, I can just select these and maybe make that a little bit wider. The blue and white
is very first edition AD&D.
Right. And you can kind of interact with the system any way that you wish, right? We can come in and do exactly the same thing we can do with the images. And come in and I'm going to hold down Shift and make a nice round element that we add over here. We can even subtract in exactly the same way.
Yeah, and obviously this is all done without art packs. If you right now don't own any, you just want to go in and test out the new tools. This is a good way that you could still create a pretty decent map pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can come in and you could draw in any sort of element that you wished. But let me just show the eraser here really quickly. So again, I can erase sections, and we can. It'll interact with that system exactly the same way. Let's go back to add. Maybe I guess it's not going to add properly after we've erased. But let's come over here. And so as you were saying before, right? Like you don't need any of the tools. You can add in anything that you want. If we take away our fill, for example, we're just doing our stroke. So if we wanted to add in some additional kind of walls in here, again, we can. I'll go into my line tool, and if I want to have like rounded ends, and for some reason it's still going to show. The not updated in the line tool, but here we can still do all of the stuff that you'd expect to do inside of Fantasy Grounds just with colors, and we can come in after the fact even, and we can change the color. So let's say we decide that this is a little bit too bright for us, we can make it dark instead, or do whatever we wish, and constantly kind of create and build up. So you could even, if you wanted to, you could get small and you could draw in your little tables and whatnot. So maybe we're going to do like a little round table in here. And so here's something that should be noted. All of the way that this is set up is based off of the grid system. So if we come in here, let's delete this. Let's say I want to have a nice round circle here. All I have to do is change my grid size. So maybe we'll make it something like 10. Come back into this area here, and now when I draw that out, you see that get a nice round circle, and then I can come back in here and put this back to 100, and there it is. So the way that the system interacts is always with the grid system. If you want to have more subtle gradients, just decrease your grid size, because it's going to do a much greater kind of variant of that as that kind of goes through the system.
Yeah. We just got a question over from YouTube. Good afternoon. Can you please demonstrate the creation of some doors?
Sure. Yeah. So, do you want to do from the LOS perspective, or does it want to do like
it's pretty vague. So I think just because obviously, the mapping tools won't automate doors. I think just go through like how you would add a door. Say to that little wall right there that looks perfect for a door.
Right. So I'm just going to go into the line of sight, and I'm just going to duplicate all of this stuff as line of sight. So if we were going to have this as like furniture or whatnot, we would probably select these and delete them. And now we have this little section right here where we want to do a door. So all I have to do is select my door, my rectangle. Maybe we're going to do it, well, I'm just going to do it like right here. And so I'm just going to drag out my actual door itself. And then what I'll do is we can select these and we can drag these down. I'm just going to go on the inside of this door to guarantee that we create a new occluder there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one and hold down Shift and select that one. So they're both selected. And I'm just going to remove those points, maybe.
You got one of them.
Yeah, I must have not selected the other one when I did
that way, when the program goes through and projects the line of sight shadows, it doesn't have any little weird artifacts.
Right.
If you have little outcroppings like that, it tends to leave weird-looking artifacts.
And there we have a nice little door. So if we were actually to go into our play mode here, and I'll grab, let's grab somebody from the combat tracker.
Bob, my favorite.
Bob. And we'll turn on all of these things. Well, we don't need lighting though. And you can see that all of this line of sight is all set up. And here's the door. Boom.
Yep. And obviously, instead of drawing the square, if you have art assets, we were specifically showing how you could create a dungeon with no art assets. You could, instead of drawing out a door, you could drop in a door asset.
Absolutely.
Or my favorite, that WotC uses a lot, is the little gray box.
Yes,
those are my
gray
favorites.
Box. But yeah, it's as easy as that. And we have a whole bunch of different occluders as well. So they all have different functionality. And they can be used in lots of really cool and inventive ways to create some really cool kind of effects. And I go over all of this stuff as well on my stream. So we deep dive into a lot of this stuff sometimes.
Yeah, which is tomorrow.
It is.
So we're getting right to the end of the show. We're getting right to that hour mark. So if anybody else wants to jump into the giveaway, now is kind of your last chance. And if you have any last minute questions, now is your last chance for those too. Is there anything else we should know about the map tools, Josh?
I believe that's a pretty good basic rundown of the new functionality. Some of the great things. One of the things that I will ask, if you guys do run into any sort of bugs or whatnot, please let us know. We're trying to make sure that all of this stuff is the top notch as it possibly can be.
Yep.
And so the more people that get in there and test this out, the better it's going to be for all of us.
And yeah, just make sure you leave those bug reports. Sometimes it's really hard for us to know if there are any, if no one's leaving bug reports. Yeah, I think that's my favorite part, is that you can duplicate the painting layer as occluders to just in the snap of a finger make yourself line of sight.
Yeah, I think that's great as well. And you can do so many cool things with it as well. You can duplicate entire layers and flip them.
Oh yeah,
And
look
so
at that.
you can
Now,
you can start to build these things extremely quickly, especially if you're
now
doing
you just
like,
doubled your dungeon size. And according to
and we can
Paulette, it
rotate it.
looks like a Picasso face. It does look like a little face. I do agree.
So much you can do.
Wow.
So I suggest everyone to get in there and try it out and make some really crazy maps.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're gonna hop off of the fantasy ground screen back to our face for the last minute of the show.
Sounds good.
And I'm gonna have. There we go. Almost. Something screwed up now. All right, I'll fix it. But yeah, so once again, if you've got any extra questions, right now is the time to ask those. But I hope that you have enjoyed our map stream. You want to give a quick pitch for your show tomorrow?
Yeah, sure. So every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, I do a stream. We usually run till about 6, and what we do is we go in and we build maps. I like to go through all the different art-related news, art packs that have been released and coming out. There you can ask questions, and I will go off and explain anything that I possibly can or help demonstrate any of the tools and whatnot. I also, all of the maps that we create, I put up on the Forge, where you can download them for free. As long as you have access, I only use our official map packs in order to make them. So as long as you have the art subscription, you can use those. They're always system agnostic, so you can use them in any game that you play. And I think that we have about 30 or so up there, and I have another one. Tomorrow I'm actually going to be putting about 30 more maps up there. So.
Ooh. Yeah, and those are all on the Fantasy Grounds Forge, which is our new kind of trying to figure out the best way to put it. I guess marketplace for community-made content. If you don't know what the Forge is. But yeah, so you can go up there. You can download those as long as, like you said, you have the art pack. There's a lot of other great stuff on the Forge too. So if you don't know about the Forge, you should check that out.
Yeah, for sure. And if you make something, you can put it on there yourself.
Not really map related. Map making related. Is there an ETA for when we can share assets like tokens? I don't think you can already. Kind of. I don't know if that's. I don't know the answer to that. That's how I'm gonna answer it. All right. Are we? Yeah, we're basically here at the end, which means it's gonna be pretty close to time to draw that giveaway winner. So once again, anybody else wants to jump in there? Now is the time to do that. Yes, it is drawing time, as opposed to what we were doing before this, which was drawing time. Yeah, not like Josh drawing, prize drawing. Yes. Any other questions I missed before we went? Gary Sticks says great video. Thank you. You are welcome. And Canby, yes, there is an art subscription. Obviously, looks like Paulette just dropped you the link. But it's $5 a month, and it gets you all of our official art packs.
I think you can do $50 a year too, as well, right?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah, it's a quite cheap subscription for what you get.
Yeah, I think that we have like 30 something art packs now, and a bunch of themes.
Yeah, you get all of that. So yeah, last minute for giveaway. To enter, all you have to do is be following and have watched for, I believe, 20 minutes, or 10 minutes, and type !art pack on Twitch. So I'll give everyone like one extra minute in case anybody somehow missed that we were running that, but that's for the Medieval Machines map pack. And you wanna tell us about that before we go? What is in that?
Oh, the new Medieval Machines. It's all about creating. So this is another thing that, like you were saying before, how do you come up with these? So I was thinking about the interiors of places like clock towers and heavy mechanically inclined scapes, like interior.
Yeah.
You could do exterior as well, or maybe like big war machines and things along those nature. So what I did was I created a whole bunch of different like cogs and axles and big gears and lots of different images that you can kind of put together to create those interior locations. And when all of that stuff, I always include like lots of different like walls and floor elements, and all of them are all set up to work with the new painting tools. So you should be able to put that stuff together like super slick.
Yeah, it very much reminds me of Castlevania. Castlevania has a lot of that kind of clock towery medieval machinery, and that's always what I think of when I saw the assets in there. I was like, oh, I can make Castlevania 3.
Yeah, you could totally make like a whole adventure.
Yeah. And then I guess final question. I'm not sure the answer to this, although I think I know. But Evo Dynamics says, so if I make a commercial adventure, can I use art packs for maps?
So the way that it works is you just have to because there's no actual image information that's shared. It's just the metadata. And so you can certainly do that, but the people that on the other end will need to have, just put a disclaimer in there that you need to have the art subscription in order to use it. So the way that it actually works is Fantasy Grounds just shares all of the location of where the image should be, any sort of image adjustment that's done to it, and its placement on the actual workspace.
Yeah, that's kind of what I assumed the answer to that was going to be, is that any users of that adventure, if they want the maps, will need the art pack subscription.
So if you think of it in the same way, if you make a Savage Worlds adventure, for example, they need to have the Savage Worlds rule set in order to use it. So this will be the same way, but you can certainly do it.
All right, then I guess it's time to close that giveaway. There's 13 entrants, and we'll see who wins some Medieval Machines. So the giveaway is now closed. And the winner is Jim and Amanka. Dropped in at the last second. So you get it. Just to be extra safe, just DM Fantasy Grounds your Fantasy Grounds username, although I'm pretty sure I know it. But yeah, just send me that so I can get that added to your account.
Oh yeah, congrats, Jiminy.
Yeah, congratulations. We'll probably do. I like to do a couple of these a month, so there'll be more in the future. Just make sure you're watching Fantasy Grounds Fridays or our other shows. So yeah, thank you, and thank you, Josh, for coming to talk to us about all the extra fun map stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Because who does not love? Who are you DMing? Just Fantasy Grounds, the Fantasy Grounds Twitch channel. Oh, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. We also have a bigger giveaway going on right now by Rafflecopter. You can go find out about it on our Twitch page or not our Twitter page. We're giving away a bunch of Pathfinder and Starfinder stuff for PaizoCon. That is, I believe, starting now. So, other than that, I'm gonna quickly look to see if there's anybody streaming with Fantasy Grounds, so that we can drop them a raid, because I like to do that. But it does mean that I have to kind of search for them real fast. Sometimes it's easy and they just use the Fantasy Grounds category, and then sometimes they hide in Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop role playing. Started yesterday. Oh, okay. I didn't know that they started on Thursday, but yeah, PaizoCon is going on right now, so we're doing a big Paizo giveaway. One lucky winner will get the Starfinder core rulebook, the Pathfinder 2e core rulebook, and an Ultimate license. So if you don't have those or Fantasy Grounds now, that's a good way of jumping on that. And quickly looking. That looks like Fantasy Grounds. I recognize those dice anywhere. That's how I tell. I always look for the the dice or the chat window. All right, wait for that. Yep. All right, so we're gonna. If you're watching on Twitch, follow us for the raid. Josh will be back tomorrow. Correct.
Correct.
Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern time for maps. So if you enjoyed watching all the map making here today, you can come back and watch a lot more. And our actual play Fabled Dice will not be this Saturday, but we will be back next week. And I believe possibly next week, maybe the week after, we're going to be doing a Pathfinder show as well, a Pathfinder 2e show.